full of women and children. He says it's predominantly not a military fort. The price, it was paid.
So lower your flag and we let you live. It's all about his ego. What's up to my favorite people? Welcome and welcome back to the island. Today we are about to hear a story, Star Spangled Banner story. I'm not too sure exactly what's going on here, but I am ready to learn. I am open. I'm ready to learn new things. So please educate me in the comments down below if I miss anything. Like the video for more of this type of content on the island. Yeah, I'm really confused, I'm really lost, but we're about to check it out. Let's go.
There was a lawyer once, his name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the national anthem. It is our song as an American. We go, however, to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you a story.
Okay, so the Star Spangled Banner is the name of their national anthem. All right, and this is the story of how it became the national anthem. I'm hoping.
Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to send a man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials. And they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis.
So the British had American prisoners, and the Americans had British prisoners, and then they wanted to make a exchange for prisoners. So they make this negotiation.
Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free. He said, tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies. He said, you'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains. As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, we have a slight problem. He said, we will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter. And Francis Scott Key said, what do you mean? He said, well, Mr. Key, he said, tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you see that fort right over there, Fort Henry? He said, we're going to remove it from the face of the earth. He said, how are you going to do that? He said, if you will, scan the horizon of the sea. And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, that's the entire British war fleet. He said, all of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours. He said, the war is over. These men would be free anyway. He said, you can't shell that fort. He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort.
Wow. So he had so much hate in his heart, so much anger, that he was willing to destroy the fort with women and children. So take your prisoner It won't matter anyway because we're about to annihilate everybody. That ain't what's going on here.
He said, don't worry about it. They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered.
Wow.
And you'll now be under British rule.
So lower your flag and we let you live. So it's all about a power. It's like a power play then. It's all about his ego.
So Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit. And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling. Every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, it's still up. It's not down. The admiral came and he said, your people are insane. He said, what's the matter with them?
Like, wow. You know, your people are insane. What's the matter with them? They will not put down their flag, even to save themselves.
He said, don't they understand this is an impossible situation? Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
Die on your feet before you live on your knees. That's an incredible statement, because from looking in on the situation, it's so easy to just take down your flag and live. But you're gonna live on your knee. You're gonna like basically bow down. Then you become a slave. You become a prisoner to the British, technically, if you do that. Wow, that shows resilience.
The admiral said, we have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down. He said, we don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that. But he said, now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point. Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it. Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds. The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle, but the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when hit had fallen, but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag to be on the ground, although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed and others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming? Or the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?"
Of the brave.
The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Wow. Like, yo, that really got me a little emotional there, because I've heard the words of the national anthem, like, you know, in ceremonies that you see on the TV or in movies, you know. Can you see? And wow, now to have some context to it. Imagine that all they had to do was put down their flag to live, and they did not want to do that. They couldn't do that. That was unacceptable for them. So they threw themselves at the side of the flag and held the flag, even though they knew that the flag was a point of targets. And as they died, more men came in and threw themselves and hold the flag until they just died and hold the flag and died and hold the flag and died and hold the flag until they were done. Like, that's the ultimate sacrifice, if you ask me. Some would say it's just a flag, but some and others would say, like, that's the country, that's their spirit, that's them. Like, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know the story behind the national anthem, and to hear it just makes it even more immaculate and exceptional. Guys, wow. To all my American people on here, that's an incredible story. That's an amazing story. Like, even all the reactions that I've been doing towards Americans and, you know, their culture and their patriotism and everything, like, I'm always fascinated. I'm always fascinated at how, you know, patriotic they are, how, you know, how they represent their country, like how serious they take their country, like how they will go down to their last defending and protecting their country. And just to hear the origin of the national anthem, the story behind that, I can tell why. And that's something that's in their blood through generation and generation and generation, because it started from fighting to keep a flag up, not studying your life, studying the flag, you know. Wow. Like the video, you guys.